Hey, this is our first podcast out of the studio. We actually went for a little bit of a walk, and you'll find out why when you hear who our guest is. But it came with a few technical issues. You'll hear the audio gets a bit funny later on, and I had to cut a few bits out. But it's well worth sticking with because the guest is amazing. Here we go. Welcome back to Our Creative Podcast, the podcast about creativity in Essex. I'm Nick Kern, creative expert, out here with Sangeeta, human person expert, aren't you? We're actually outdoors like today, which is mad. Haven't been out the studio before.
I know.
We are by the River Chelmer, and it's like a beautiful day today. Did you see it this morning? Super misty.
Yeah.
It's like Excalibur. It's amazing, wasn't it?
It was amazing.
And it was like magic. When I was coming over here, the sun was coming up through the mist, and all the wooden fences, there was like steam coming off them.
Oh, wow.
And it just looked like this, it wasn't a particularly attractive area of Chelmsford, but it looks amazing. It's like magic. It's like dragon time. It's so cool. And we're outdoors today because we've got a very special guest called
James Lawrence.
James Lawrence, very official.
Yeah.
James Lawrence.
Only when I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Or mad about country when I'm
Man about country.
outdoors. Yeah. I do get in trouble outdoors sometimes, but generally outdoors, mad about country.
Man about country. What about Man about city? You ever do?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been a mad about city today, to be fair, trying to bring a bit of country into the city. But, yeah,
Okay.
it's
Amazing.
it's a spin on man about town. So sometimes mad about town, sometimes mad about country.
I love that.
Yeah.
And before we get started, I just need to check your Essex credentials.
let me just leave through.
Yeah.
Born and raised in Essex. I was born in Chelmsford, so it's very nice to come back to the city of my birth.
Amazing.
I grew up in Kelvedon,
Yeah.
not secret nuclear bunker Kelvedon Hatch, the other Kelvedon, which is between Chelmsford and Colchester. So this
Little
was my
Kelvedon.
Little Kelvedon.
Near Coggeshall.
God, I'm going to have an inferiority complex now. It is the one, I never heard it described as Little Kelvedon, but yeah, that one.
Very rural.
Near Coggeshall.
I love it.
And my parents both grew up in Braintree and Cressing, so they're both like...
You're full Essex. Full Essex.
I'm
All right,
full
we'll like
Essex.
those. We have to check at the
like
border,
that.
to make sure it's all right.
Yeah, I haven't got my passport, but I'm quite persuasive.
We believe
so,
you.
yeah.
We believe you.
We'll put one in the post. We'll talk to Essex Records Office later on.
That's a good idea.
And before we start anything, I have to ask you, are you creative?
Yes.
Brilliant. Right, let's start walking. We are going to find out all about what you do.
Yeah.
We're here. Look, the River Chelmer is looking beautiful today.
It is.
The bank is so swollen. We've had a few storms coming through recently. Last night, Storm Chandra, which sounds like a Pokemon,
It does actually. Yeah.
has come through, and the river is absolutely swollen to its banks here. Otters have been spotted here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I haven't seen one. And it's one of my top 5 animals, so it'd be my dream. But I have seen kingfishers here,
Cool.
Okay.
Very nice.
which is nice. And I think that's sort of like relevant to what James does, because James, tell us what you do.
Well, I was just going to say, I think if this river was a lady, then she would be like a big buxom lady today.
Oh.
Like big, busty, one of those like barmaids that doesn't take any nonsense. That's
Really?
what this river looks like to me today.
I'm thinking like Tom Bombadil's wife.
Ooh, yeah. It's got branches in it. It feels like a bit like a dancing river. It's got ripples. Goldberry. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
River Chelmer, today I declare you Goldberry.
Awesome. Well, let's start walking. We're going to walk along the River Chelmer and have a chat on the way.
Brilliant.
Now, James, tell us, how do you describe yourself?
I describe myself as a storyteller and an adventurer. Mainly because I think that makes like the best business card of all time. And I've had some really crap business cards in my time.
Have you got wooden business cards or like on bark or something?
Well, I mean, paper is like really thin wood, isn't it? So like cards. So I guess technically I have. I never thought of that before. So I call myself a storyteller because I like telling stories. I tell stories in person and I tell them on social media and I put videos online. I especially like telling stories about Britain and the land and the history and the folklore and anything that makes people see Britain as something other than a grey, boring, concrete kind of place that you would never want to set out your door and explore. Which sounds like common sense, but sometimes we need to be reminded of it.
So you're really like all about getting outdoors.
Yes,
and exploring.
I like telling stories to get people outdoors because I think that us not as a country and as a planet not spending enough time outdoors like we used to is one of the greatest public health emergencies that affects our physical health, mental health, like every aspect of our life.
Yeah, so you're like literally you're like trying to drag people away from their screens
through their screens.
Through their screens, yeah. I'm aware of the paradox, but you know, sometimes you've got to fight fire with fire.
So if this is the last video you watch this video and then get out.
Yeah, I'm that guy who says, watch this video and then don't watch any more videos, but just watch mine and that's it. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I love that. You know, I'm sort of thinking of you a bit like an outdoor influencer. You know, no, influencer is a horrible name. No one wants to be called an influencer.
No one wants to be called an influencer. But
you are influencing people to get out and explore and look around them, look around the countryside, mainly like for mental health and things. I think you had a revelation moment, right, where you rediscovered the outdoors.
Yeah. So that was. I've always loved the outdoors, and I mean, growing up in Essex was a really great place to grow up with, like fields and meadows and trees to play in, and I was very lucky to have that part of my childhood, which made me grow up with an appreciation of the countryside. But it was only during COVID, when I was living down in Cornwall, that all of a sudden, like, you know, we all got very isolated, and I was living by myself, and I never used to go outdoors by myself very much. I would go out with mates, or I don't know, there was always a reason to it. And it's only when I started going outdoors by myself that I really had that space to think, and I really started to realise all of the benefits that just being outside somewhere and going for a walk or sitting quietly, all the benefits that can bring.
Yeah, and what were these sort of benefits that you're feeling when you sort of got out and started exploring?
Well, some of it was just like having space to think, and when you're like pressured with all of your, you know, like million and one thoughts and all of the, you know, the inbox of your head, and you know, like just having a little bit of calm and space from that, like kind of like the anxiety of modern life. But I think some of it was also making that space let me find out about who I was a little bit more. Like, I think a lot of people kind of have questions about their identity and like, who am I? And, you know, what am I here to do? And,
what's my purpose?
What's the meaning of life? You know, 42 and, you know, all that stuff. But I think going outdoors and just having the space to think about that, but also interacting with nature and, I don't know, looking at an oak tree and suddenly going, wow, I've just figured out this thing about myself. What did the tree, you know, like, yeah, I don't know, you don't have to be woo-woo, but...
So you think the answers were outdoors?
Yeah, I think so. The answers always have been. We all made it this far as a species because we used to spend loads of time outdoors, and it's only quite recently, like industrial, you know, couple of centuries, industrial revolution onwards, where we've all been like packed into cities, and now we don't even need to go outside because we've got everything on a screen to do. That it's really in the last couple of generations that we've just kind of really cut ourselves off from it, and we're only really starting to understand the impacts of that now.
I thought COVID was so interesting because they said you're only allowed outside for half an hour, right? But also everyone took that as like, you must be outside for half an hour.
Yeah.
And I might not have gone out for half an hour every day. And then suddenly I was like, I'm going to get every bloody second of
Gotta
my...
be half an hour, yeah.
And also when they were like, but you can only go in your local area. And I think a lot of people were like, right, well, I'm going to push the boundaries of that. And I'm going to go as far as I can get away with. And I never usually go this far. Same thing, yeah.
But it was really interesting because I started exploring my local area, and it's like I felt like I knew every blade of grass and tree and bush. And there were bits I'd never been to before, and alleyways I hadn't explored, and I felt like I became an expert in my little area, Morsham Lodge.
Oh, wow.
And it was really cool because sometimes you just don't stop and look around because you're so busy, go, rushing to get to the next place and the next place.
Yeah, or you take a look at somewhere you drive past all the time and you go, yeah, there's nothing to see in there.
Yeah.
But when you really zoom in with your big magnifying glass and you realise all this stuff around the corner you never knew was there, even if it's just a couple of nice trees, or like you said, literally, it's a nice bit of grass, I could sit on that sometime. Yeah. It's like a whole world, like through a microscope or something. So it's amazing.
All these crazy microcosms going on around you.
Yeah.
Hey, look, listen, we're next to this big weir here now, sorry, because we're on our walk.
Yeah, we are.
We're going to explain where we are next to this weir, and the river is going absolutely gunning it down this weir.
Yeah.
This is the most sort of, I've got a geography degree and I don't know the words. This is the most rapid I've seen the river before.
Okay.
This is crazy.
Is it one of those really weird geography words you're trying to like, you know, the Falweg? What business does that have?
Yes, the Falweg is swollen. And we go but
yes, it is, can confirm.
I just want to grab a kayak and go down there, but I know it'd be very, very irresponsible of me, so I wouldn't recommend anyone do that. But if I was an otter, I mean, look at this. This is like Centre Parks for otters.
Yeah. Or it's like, yeah, you got Riverside Leisure Centre right there, and here's the Otters version. Whoop, straight down the slide.
Oh, look at this poo sticking. This is like it's like the X Games for poo sticks.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, come on, let's go.
All right.
Right, so we are here. We're near the Riverside.
Yeah.
In Chelmsford, and we are going to look at this. There's a brand new bit of graffiti here, or graffiti street art, which is amazing. Like someone's come and done this picture of this ogre looking at the Northern Lights.
This is my kind of
Do we
street
know
art.
who? Oh, here we
Yes,
go,
this is
yes.
by Candy Joyce and Scotty Brave.
Ah.
And now I saw Candy yesterday, and I said we're going to walk past it. She said this ogre is called Nobby, and I'll tell you why. Because she was drawing it, and it didn't have a spray can in its hand. By the way, listeners, this is like an ogre. It's laying back. He's got his knee up. He's looking up at the aurora borealis in the sky, beautifully rendered. But she said that someone came past and said, "Oh, he looks like he's having a good time," and she realised it might look like he was having a little self-pleasure session, looking up at the sky. So she quickly drew in a spray can and an arm.
Amazing.
But that's why he's called Nobby, because it looked like he had a knob.
viewers, he no longer looks like he's self-pleasuring, but he does
No.
look like he's having quite a lot of pleasure, just in a more wholesome
A more wholesome way, yeah, exactly, where he's
Tin
spray painting the
way,
sky.
yeah.
But this is really cool as well, you know, because there's so much interesting street art pops up around the city, and it's, you know, it's so cool to get something new and colourful and cultural to look at.
You know, I never realised how important Chelmsford was for street art in general, both the street art in the city, and I didn't realise, like, the London police, the street artists are basically an export all around the world, and they all come from Chelmsford.
Well, they're legends. You know, they have a UNESCO protected painting.
No way.
Yeah, on the Amsterdam waterfront.
Wow.
We had previously, he was a previous guest, and basically they painted a wall. There was a massive council argument about whether to remove it or not. By the time that argument had ended, UNESCO had said the whole waterfront is UNESCO heritage. Nothing can be changed. So now, I mean, how many street artists are UNESCO protected?
And people are still arguing, like, should we get rid of it because it might
They
be
can't.
graffiti or vandalism?
You
It's
cannot
like, no,
change a
sorry,
thing.
We've already declared this of international cultural importance, so do one.
Do one, yeah, exactly. UNESCO, so do one.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chelmsford's great because we have Concrete Canvas, we have these street art festivals.
Yeah.
So I think it makes the city so interesting to go exploring. There's street art trails you can do to go around and you know, see all these pieces and discover things about the artists. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
You just started going out and you sort of discovered that it made you happier. At what point did you decide, okay, I'm going to share this with everyone and I want more people to come along with me and experience the world in the way that I'm experiencing it?
Well, it was when I had my penny drop about how important being outdoors was for me, that I just had this other penny drop of like, well, I think that one of the best things I can do in my time is try and get other people to enjoy this as much as I am.
Yeah.
Because I know that what's good for one person is not necessarily good for everyone, but when it comes to being outdoors, I'm confident that it is.
Yeah.
It's just, I want other people to just experience this like wealth that we've got on our doorsteps, just like I did. So that's, so I set up Mad About Country from there.
How did you start? Did you just get a couple of your mates to come out with you and suddenly they were like, this is wicked, mate?
You know what? It started when, I used to take my mates out on walks. So like sometimes if someone was having a birthday, someone rents like an Airbnb in the Peak District and, everyone gets together and we go out for a walk. And I'd be like, hang on, we're just walking around the car park. We've travelled all this way to like the Peak District or something and we've gone on a naff walk.
Yeah.
So I would say, right, I'm going to research the route and I'll make sure we see the best of what we can do, like, here.
So were they treating it like you were supposed to do this little thing, and then you're allowed to go to the pub afterwards?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, we're going to do a proper...
Some of them are bringing tinnies on the walk. Like, it's pretty chill.
Well, that's my kind of walk,
And
yeah.
at first, I don't know, I think people were like, oh, bloody hell, James has been a bit of a nerd about this. Like, I've been spending so much time, researching the walk. And then that wasn't enough. I would stop at the best bits and tell people, right, put your tinnies down or continue to drink them, but listen to me and I'm going to tell you why this rock is so incredible or this is the battle that happened here. I was just really passionate about, because for me, one way to bring nature alive is to tell people the stories about what happened there. Like it's not just to look at an oak tree and go, oh wow, it's really nice, I like that, or oh, that's a nice sunshine on my face, but stimulate the imagination.
Yeah.
So I would tell people all of this stuff, and my friends would say, hey, actually, James, we really enjoy this. You're really good at this. You should do it more. And so they were who got me started.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you could look at a tree and you could find that interesting, and then you would have to go back. You would then research it and find out all the benefits that tree was giving. Is that how it kind of works in your outdoor world?
Yes. I want to learn as much as I can about the natural world and like what are all the different species of trees, what are all the cool facts about each tree. You know, like an oak tree sustains like 2,000 different kinds of bugs just on dead wood.
So have things changed in your life due to your outdoor expedition, apart from your mental health and that helping with it? But what other things has it, like, it's become a career for you now, right?
Well, that's the main thing. When I started off and said I want to share this wealth of getting outdoors with people, it was always a side hustle.
Yes.
I had another job. I used to work in sales, marketing, hospitality. Used to work for a distillery down in Cornwall, and that was always just going to be my side thing.
Right.
And then in the last couple of years, I really just asked myself, well, what's a job that I could do where I could wake up on Monday morning and not go, oh God, not this again. And I spent all of my 20s asking myself that, and I couldn't think of an answer. I thought, I don't know what I can do that doesn't just feel like, a job. And then I thought, wow, well, it's this. It's what, if I am this passionate about trying to get people outdoors, I love it, and I know they'll love it. I need to spend all my time doing it. So
you go across the country, don't you?
Yes, yeah. I'm quite passionate about showing people all of Britain, so like England, Scotland, Wales, and, Northern Ireland if I get there. And so, someone from Essex might be interested to go on holiday to Scotland. So I try and cover it all. But
oh wow, so that's the ambition, is like cover like all areas off and
yeah. But that's been the pleasure of, so last year I decided to zoom in on my home county of Essex. And so what I've been doing here, I guess I have been trying to do all over the country.
We're just stopping. Look.
Yes.
Look this. I love. Right, hang on. Sorry. Just a quick interlude. We've stopped by this graffiti wall near the riverside. I think this is from Concrete Canvas as well. I love this cat. It makes me so happy.
I love this cat.
Yeah, it's genius, isn't it? I think we should. Can we get a little group selfie in front of the cat? So when did this actually become something that you could consider, a career rather than just like a hobby?
Only about 18 months ago. It's all very recent for me. Yeah. About 2 years ago, I made the decision that I want to make this my full-time career, or make this my main squeeze. The year before last, I took a whole year out. I was training down on Dartmoor in outdoor education and nature connection, because I was trying to get the basics of how to tell people what all the trees are, and how to make people enjoy being outdoors and improve on my own knowledge.
There are courses for that?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Nature connection.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Wow.
And so I thought, well, I've got to start somewhere.
Yes, of course.
But when you're doing things like that, there's a lot of campfires and there's a lot of people telling stories. And so I just kind of got into doing that. I used to do acting when I was younger. So I kind of have that performance bug in me. That for a while.
Amazing.
And again, I started telling stories, a bit like I do when I tell people about the history of what happened here, or whatever, same thing. And people would say, well, actually, this is the thing you're really good at. And it ended up, the storytelling bit took off. Again, that was always just going to be a hobby. It was just like my creative practice I get. And now that is the main part of how I get people involved in the outdoors. So it's been quite a wild journey.
This is what got me excited about when the first time I saw you. And I thought, oh, you are telling these stories with so much enthusiasm. And it's so erudite as well, and so compact, that you just want to come along with you and get excited. You want to share that same level of excitement about the statue of Birnoff at Malden, or anything, or seeing a particularly nice shaped tree.
Yeah.
Which I get excited about as well.
Exactly. I think when I was asking myself those questions of, okay, but what's the job that Okay,
hang on, listeners.
Wait, for viewer interest.
Now we're walking on. We're looking at some beautiful swans, which are
swans
in Bond Street Bowl. Well, and Bond Street Bowl is have you seen this area?
I didn't know it's called the Bond Street Bowl.
Yeah, basically it's set up as an event area, but it regularly floods. So the sort of swans have taken over, really. It's now just like a swan party zone.
Man, it's a swan sunbathing zone. It's absolutely loving that
Yeah,
sunlight.
they're loving it. But yeah, wait till the otters come along. They'll move them on. They'll move them on.
They've got a couple of moorhens down there as well. Let's see
Yeah.
them. And a duck, keeping their respectful distance from the swans.
This is
triple bird action.
amazing. I can't believe they've come so far out.
Yeah, look, swan there's just
where
taken.
the humans are.
Yeah.
That
Right.
is so
I don't
cool.
think the swans are remotely bothered by humans.
No,
Yeah,
really
yeah.
not.
Look at there, preening itself, getting ready for the show.
Exactly.
They
Hopefully-
must know they're covered by law.
I think,
I think they do.
Protected.
Yeah.
He thinks Meng's going to come along and take some wildlife photos of him soon. So yeah, we get, yeah. Where were we at? We were talking about
So-
storytelling.
That's it. So when I was asking myself all those questions about, okay, like what is it I want to do for a job? What am I good at?
Yeah.
And I thought, what I'm good at is getting people really excited about the same stuff I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Like when I get hyped about something, I just can't help. I want to like grab someone by the shoulders and tell them, "Don't you realise how interesting this is?" Like, whether it's a statue or a tree or a bit of history. But it also so happens that I get excited about just about anything. I mean, I used to find every subject boring in school, and now there is no subject that I find boring. You could talk to me about like the drainage mechanism of this Bond Street bowl and how the water levels change over the year. And I promise you, I mean, don't go to town on it, but you know, in a nice little 20-minute lecture, I'll probably still find it interesting.
Now I've got to tell you a story because Sangeeta, I don't know if you know about this, but we're somewhere very special now. This is Mesopotamia Island.
Whoa.
Do you know about Mesopotamia Island?
Absolutely
No.
not. Why is it
Pray
Mesopotamia
tell.
So
Island?
Mesopotamia Island is Mesopotamia means a space between two rivers, I believe. So
Yeah.
this was an island, a space in between the two rivers, and it was famous in the 19th century. They used to have mock elections. So if there's going to be a general election,
Yeah.
they would have a mock election on Mesopotamia Island.
No way.
And apparently the speeches were really funny, like witty speeches, and the loser would get dunked in the river.
No.
Yeah. So it
Oh,
was,
that is amazing.
so this whole area was sort of famous for that.
History. Wow.
Yeah, and now obviously it's beautiful. We've got the Everyman Cinema here.
Yes.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know whether the name Mesopotamia Island has
Wow.
been lost to time, but this should be called Mesopotamia
They
Island.
should do because it might bring in tourists.
Don't you think the world would be a better place if we just still did that?
Yeah.
If every now and
Left
then
it, yeah,
we
yeah.
just had a mock election that actually meant nothing,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
everyone turned up,
Yeah.
they were to just say whatever kind of silly crap they liked,
Yeah.
and then the loser, everybody would watch them got dunked in the
Yeah,
river. I think that
that
would
could be a
blow
thing.
off a lot of
That
steam.
could be a thing.
Yeah, more people should be dunked in the river. More people should have sponges thrown at them or dunked, the dunking stool, like the medieval thing.
Right, I'm going to be the first to have an election. That's going to be my speech.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Shall we do it?
We're going to.
I think we should do that. We should bring it back, actually.
I think so.
For Concrete Canvas or some event. I think we should have the Bond Street election. Do you reckon our MP would be up for it?
maybe
Marie
just
Goldman, do you mind being dunked in the river?
Just tell them the full story, just bit by bit. and
Yeah.
then-
Yeah, and there was one bit
Wow.
we forgot to tell you about the mock election.
Love it.
All right, awesome.
That's politics, man.
Yeah, but this is what's so interesting about when you walk around an area and there's all these stories to be unearthed, and not everyone knows everything. It's like that. What do you call it? Oral history,
Yeah,
oral
that's it, yeah.
storytelling.
Stories.
And then passing them down. And actually, I was trying to find out about Mesopotamia Island earlier on because I knew it existed and I knew this story. Very hard to find any information about it.
Really?
Yeah, but I've heard the story,
Wow.
so I wanted to verify that. Someone might have just made it up.
Well, this is, we were talking about storytelling. I think
Yeah.
such a big part of storytelling is you find one nugget, it's like one sentence in a history book
Yep.
that doesn't big it up at all. And
Yeah.
you just read in one place, oh yeah, by the way, this is Mesopotamia Island, and they used to like have mock elections to dunk people. And it's your job to go, hang on, there's a whole story here.
Yeah.
People will want to hear about that nowadays, and you turn it into a whole bit. Like
Yes.
that's what storytelling
Yeah.
is.
And it's oral history telling, but it's like how you tell it, the excitement you can tell it and bring it to life, right?
Yeah. Because you just brought that to life for me.
Yeah.
Like I truly feel like I've had a holiday abroad.
I know what
I can say to people.
I know what you
Mesopotamia.
were just fantasising about a certain Nigel being dunked, weren't you, in a fake election?
I mean, to be fair, yeah. That's a
my
hell of
first
a
holiday.
fantasy. All right, okay, now
On an
I've got some
island.
ideas cooking.
So
Yeah.
we got now you were sort of involved in this really big project, the Essex Ways.
Yep,
right?
that's right.
Oh,
Which was
yep.
which was actually sponsored by Culture Essex.
Correct,
And
yeah.
I remember seeing their cool call for proposals for artistic projects, and I think they probably weren't ever expecting someone's going to say, "I'm going to walk around Essex and document it."
Yeah, I don't think they were. And it's the first time I'd ever applied for arts funding for anything.
Right.
And I said, like, okay, I would like to do this story where I gather stories from all over Essex and then tell them to as many people around Essex as I can get. But it's kind of important, and bear with me, I want to walk around and do it all on foot.
Yeah.
I know it would be easier if I just drove from place to place and gathered the stories, but that's not going to work, because there is a certain kind of story you can get when you go and find it on foot.
Does it give you more connection to the story, you think, like actually walking it? Yeah.
I think the way I put it is it like, you are then making a story of it, and that kind of like magnetizes and attracts lots of other stories.
Hang on. Basically, what you're saying is you're the modern Canterbury Tales, which was pretty much the first book.
Yeah.
And that was just people walking along telling stories.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, amazing. Chaucer would be proud. Yeah.
If I rocked up to a pub in a part of Essex I've never been to, and they're like, "Who's this geezer with a big stick sitting at the bar?" and I'm just, "Oh, I'm just here. I'm here to collect stories." They'd say, like, "Oh, you're a journalist or something," and they probably wouldn't give me the time of day. If I rock up with a big bag on my back, and they're like, "Who the hell are you?" and I say, "Well, I've been walking 400 kilometres around Essex, and I've come here," and I proper come in the tavern, and I push the door open, and I'm all grizzled from a day's walking. I'm doing this big walk to collect stories, then that is what got people to say, "Okay, mate, I don't know you from Adam, but now sit down and let me buy you a pint, because I'm going to tell you 45 minutes of stuff from the area." And that was my part of the rationale for how to get to know Essex and its stories, and it bloody worked.
I'm Sangita.
Yes.
I'm quite disappointed that James has turned up without his stick, because I think it's a key part of your image.
I wouldn't have got half as many stories from that project if I wasn't walking around with a big wooden walking stick. Because that's what made people stop and turn to me and go, "Oh."
Yeah. What were the sort of most surprising stories that you found from this walk?
I found a lot of stories about Essex women and Essex girls, which, I mean, they weren't surprising, but the amount of stories there are about showing Essex women in a good light.
Yes.
Essex women get the worst rap of anybody in Essex, which is saying something, because we all certainly do. Oh, wow, this is a cool little tunnel.
I didn't even know about this.
Oh, wow.
Look, hang on, we're going through a little tunnel now.
We're going through a little
next
tunnel.
to Two Brewers.
Old
pub.
bricks on the
I
walls.
have lived here over 20 years, and I'm venturing into new
Feels
spaces.
After you.
I've got to say, this feels a bit like Harry Potter, like when he goes into Diagon Alley for a secret passage.
Someone's just tapped a wall with an umbrella. It really does feel like that, doesn't it? Yeah.
I love this old wood up here as well.
Threshold.
This is really cool.
Brilliant. All right, so sorry. So I think this is it, like Essex women and Essex girls reclaiming this, because in the 80s everyone got such a bad rap.
And then
the 90s,
they still, in the papers, and then they got a bad rap, and then just as it subsided, then The Only Way Is Essex comes out, and then that kind of revitalises this idea that that's all there is to Essex. And I know on the one hand, I'm trying to say you can't reduce Essex to a single set of negative stereotypes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm saying, but those of us in Essex will recognise that there are qualities that people in Essex do tend to be associated with.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to flip some of those on their heads and say, here's a bunch of stories I found from over 1,000 years, 1,500 years of history, one of them was really old, about Essex women who are strong, independent, do not need to hide behind a man to have their voice heard.
Describing Sangita right now.
There we go. Fiercely proud of protecting their families and their communities, like a mother bear or something like that. And these are the stories that came up over and over again. So it kind of is. It's not a stereotype, but it kind of is as well.
And with these stories, do you then go and sort of verify them as well, or do you just like to keep them as here's a story I heard and I'm going to retell it?
So I went to uni, I studied ancient history, which means I still have a bit of a historian, researcher kind of mindset. If I go on Wikipedia, I'm one of those people who will have 60 tabs open because I want to learn about that, and I want to learn about that, and that's got nothing to do with anything, but I want to learn about that, and then 4 hours later I'm no closer to where I started. But so I do, when I find a story, especially if it's not a folk tale, but it's something that happened, I don't know, the elections in Mesopotamia Island, I do like to research make sure what I'm saying is broadly true. I might add a little bit of colour and flavour, but I ultimately want to say, and this happened, or people have been saying, like, this is a legend that's probably not true, but people have been saying it for over 200 years, and so it's an important part of local culture. So I do like to look up and verify stuff.
I was watching A Night of the Seven Kingdoms this week, the new Game of Thrones.
New Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there was a line on it. It's like, stories always become bigger in the telling. And I was like, yeah, that's brilliant. You know, like,
Banger.
I love that when something gets retold and retold and retold, and suddenly it gets a bit more fanciful and a bit bigger and a bit like crazier.
That's why there's a story is alive,
Yeah,
because the root could be over 2,000 years old, but every time somebody tells it, it gets slightly different. It updates for what's important of the world today, and so they, like, a story is a living thing, and they're designed to be passed on like that.
Hey, listeners, we are now. What's this called? This is Chelmsford Basin. Yeah. Well, there's actually, it's unbelievable. There's like canal boats in Chelmsford.
Oh,
And you can
honestly,
come
do you
to-
think people live on
Yeah, people live on them.
the
canal boats? Yeah, this is like the
It's like
marina.
Because I've been
luxury
doing a lot
barges.
of research on like off-grid living and people living on barges. It's amazing that
I tell you
we're
what,
here.
they look sort of like some bougie barges to
look
me.
amazing.
That little one, see that one, the duck egg blue
Yeah,
one? That looks more
yeah.
like a normal sized barge, but look how giant these ones
Honestly,
are. by
these are the
comparison.
5-star ones, aren't they?
So this is the Chelmsford Navigation.
Wow.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Would you look at the way the water
The
is
water
smooth
is-
enough that it's
yeah.
rippling just a bit?
So different
To
from
make it
the
look like a
other
mirror.
part.
And
Oh,
of course,
man.
all boats have to have amazing names, and there's one here called May Contain Nuts.
Don't get much better than that. Oh, wait, hang
I
on.
love
There's
it.
another
The
one.
Hokey Cokey, yeah, that's even
Wherever
better.
you are.
So you know,
Bravo.
I think with these stories as well, because we had Emma, who's the director of the Essex Witch Museum, as a previous guest, and a lot of these like witch stories, from the telling, and people, people talking about witches and how these independent women were like evil and doing these things and stuff. And actually, obviously, now luckily we've got the internet to check stuff. But back then, everyone would believe it. These stories going around and end up with just terrible things happening. Obviously.
Well, this is a really good example of the kind of stories I want to tell. I want to tell stories that are not just interesting and make you go, oh wow, I didn't know that about the place I live, but showing that those stories are relevant to the world we live in today.
Yeah.
And they actually answer questions that are quite big in society at the moment.
So the witch hunt is like a cautionary tale, really, isn't it? It's don't check your sources, don't believe the fake news. And,
Exactly. And just, I think for people that know about the witch hunts and the witch trials, and we look and we think, oh my God, how could people have been so awful? But that was like 400, 500 years ago. We're obviously not like that anymore. We'd never do that again.
Yeah.
But then if you want to talk about, okay, well, maybe there are some ways in our modern society where hysteria and suspicion are applied to people who are seen as different, who maybe live on what we see as the outside of our community. And so then we suddenly, people whisper to each other and all of a sudden they're dangerous. And well, if you want to look at the way we treat immigrants and refugees today, ask yourself, could we, make those same mistakes again? That's why we need to look at what happened in the past, because, they went
repeat.
from overnight, practically, in Essex. People lived with witches.
Yep.
Yeah.
The witch was like their GP.
Yeah.
The healer, the midwife.
The healer, that's right, yeah.
And the 1 minute they're very welcome, or maybe treated, you've got a bit of a wart on your nose or whatever, but you're very important.
You can help me, yes.
And the next minute someone just comes in, snake in the grass, and says they're not to be trusted. All of a sudden they're totally demonised, and look what happened. It can happen in a flash.
one of them did have a cat called Satan, so I've just got to point out, sorry, so we are on a magical walk here now with our magical storyteller.
Magical.
I just saw the reflection of the moon in the water here,
Yes.
which is making the basin look even more magical.
Wow.
Yeah, the navigation.
You know what's mad? If you look up at that bit of those flats and the moon is quite a bit higher,
Yeah.
but when you look down at the reflection of the building, the moon is way closer.
Yeah, it's true.
It's magic,
Oh,
isn't it?
man,
True.
that is magic.
Do you know what, Nick? Well
Good
done for
spot.
spotting that.
Good
yeah,
spot.
I was
there
talking to
you
someone the other
go.
day saying, it must have been mad before the invention of mirrors, when you just had to look at your reflection in the
Yes,
water.
it's
And then just
true.
see like...
Do you know what? That looks so... It almost looks like an underworld.
Yeah, it does.
Like
It's the upside down.
The upside down, yeah, absolutely.
It's like the same colour over there, but then it gets so dark down here.
Yeah.
That's, it does look like the upside down.
This is the magic of the Chelmsford navigation,
I
everyone.
never ever looked at it like
So
this.
we've gone from a raging torrent down the Quinabulus or whatever we called it.
Quinabulus.
I don't know, whatever the thing was on the river that I didn't know the word for.
What
that
the
thing.
raging Thalweg?
Yeah.
The Thalweg. Was it a
the
Thalweg a real word?
Yeah, no, the Thalweg is actually, this is my only GCSE geography knowledge. The Thalweg is the fastest bit of the river when it
okay,
flows.
yeah.
So actually, that wasn't the Thalweg.
It wasn't
I
a
was being
Quinabulus
bit
then.
facetious. But you know what? It probably is that. You're the
if you
geographer,
said it-
not me.
And now we're here with this mirror still, beautiful area. What a difference.
Area.
Absolutely gorgeous.
What a beautiful place to have a walk.
And actually, I think
Wow.
it's part of the same river, because my wife was showing me a map earlier, and the island of Mesopotamia,
Yeah.
it had a channel going off it which fed this bit of water as
right.
well. So there were more bits. Now I looked at the map of the Essex Ways, and it seemed like you studiously avoided Chelmsford. You went everywhere around the whole of Essex. Chelmsford's just right in the middle, and you couldn't have been further away from Chelmsford.
If it makes you feel any better, I ended up not going to Colchester or Southend either. That's
okay.
just the way the chips fell. Because it
Okay.
was into the
Hold on, we're all cities. Is there a link there?
No, you know what? It did make me feel better that I wasn't giving one city more love than any other.
Good.
'Cause then I'd have felt really
There
bad.
would have been more.
Exactly.
We
You
always say
don't
that
want
Chelmsford is in the top 3 cities of Essex.
Yeah, it is. It's got either bronze, silver, or gold.
I love it.
No, but the route I took, it started on like the Essex Way, so it was like, right, the footpath is already set, and that went north of Chelmsford, and then I was following the coast on the way back.
How old is the Essex Way?
I think that's a good question. I think it's been there since the 80s.
Because actually we were talking to Laura Aziz recently, and she's
Yeah.
doing a project about the Saffron Way,
Oh my
which
days.
goes
Oh,
sort of
Saffron Trail, yeah.
south to north. And I thought it was an ancient way, but apparently it turned out it was just sort of invented by someone, maybe in the 80s or something. But then, a few hundred years time, that's going to be a classic
That's
bit of
right.
history, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, I think also you go through so many historic areas, I think you just assume that the path is historic as well, because it
Yeah.
feels like you're walking through like centuries back in time. So that's fair enough.
I love it. So the Essex Way, you went from Epping
Yeah.
all the way out. Was it to Manningtree? How far did you go to?
Past Manningtree to Harwich.
To Harwich.
Oh, wow.
That's 81 miles, about 130 kilometres.
That's very thank you.
That's all right. No.
And how many? That took you 10 days to walk, did it?
So that took me 8 days
Yeah.
to go from Epping to Harwich. And then I had a week off because I had to go and do some work down in Devon. And then I came back, and then I walked from Harwich down to Tilbury Docks. That took me 13 days.
Wow.
So it was a total of
That was
21
really
days.
wiggly, that one. Like you were all around the coast.
Yeah, it was. Well, there's a hell of a lot of coast. Essex arguably has the longest coastline of any county in England.
Oh,
depending on
wow.
how you measure it,
Okay.
even longer than Cornwall's.
Really?
which
But
everyone-
you didn't did you not take a trundle wheel with you to prove it?
That had been a
Because
lot. I think
we
I
need
would
to
have
have
worn
that.
it out. It would have fallen off. Yeah.
We need to have that. Essex, which county? Also, longest coastline
Coastline.
in Britain.
Essex also longest coastline, and Cornwall, so suck it, Cornwall. I think. Sounds a bit more poetic.
Yeah,
I
and
think,
also better flag than Cornwall.
But yeah, you know what? I used to live in Cornwall, so I can say yes, it does have a.
There
yeah,
you go.
it
Really
obviously has its
authentic.
benefit.
Yeah, you can't beat your 3 C axes.
Too right.
So when you're planning your Essex Ways walks,
Yeah.
and you're taking 10 days to get to one place, I'm assuming that you go to one place, that's your resting point, and then before you move on, and then before you move on again.
So I planned
Is
it.
that-
I planned in advance.
Right.
I knew roughly where I was going to stay on each night. So I
Right.
thought, right, if I'm like, okay, I've got like 81 miles
Right.
between Epping and Harwich, and I've got 8 days. I need to make sure I'm roughly doing an eighth every
Yeah,
day.
that's
so
right, yeah.
If I think it's like 10 miles a day. Right,
Yeah.
I've got to make sure I get to there. So I
Right.
kind of knew. How
And did
far I
you
needed
kind
to
of
get
stop
to.
in what, like kind of inns, pubs, or camping? What did it have when you
Little
stopped?
bit. It was mostly camping.
It
I had all
was?
my
Oh,
stuff in the
wow.
back, my bivvy bag.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I
man.
camped most of the way. Yeah.
That's
That's
proper
what
like
I
medieval
wanted to-
storyteller business with
yeah,
a stick.
That's what I
and
really
you-
wanted to know as well.
Yeah.
Wow. So
A little
that.
campfire every night as well.
Oh,
No
that's-
campfires.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't have any.
Campfires.
Yeah, because I didn't talk about this bit of the project so much in like the official stuff because wild camping is not legal in Essex.
Oh right, I got
So
you.
it's not
I
like
got you.
Dartmoor. So I.
Do you want us to cut this out?
No. I know. I'm
Wild camping, go
no,
for it, everyone.
I'm quite open
No,
about it.
you just
but
said that you didn't use it.
There
and
was-
you didn't do it. So.
I didn't want me wild camping on someone's private land very
Yes.
respectably. I've got plenty of experience of wild camping. I know how to do it without damaging the land, hence no campfires, anything like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't want the council to be seen as like condoning that part of the project.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
I didn't want it to run. Otherwise, I'm a big believer in the right to roam movement, and people should be able to respectfully go on land if they're not going to damage it or leave it better than they found it. So it was actually quite important to me to prove to people you can go wild camping in Essex
without
whether
harming.
it's inland or on the coast. But at the time, I thought, I don't know. Now that the project's kind of done and behind me, and I can say that the council didn't know that I was going to do that, as it were. But I'm very proud he did so. It was one of the best bits of the adventure.
What, the camping?
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's not many people that have been all around Essex in 20 days, right? Who had the best banter? Where were the best stories? What area?
What area?
I actually think in Clacton.
Yeah?
Oh,
Yeah.
old school.
I got to
Clacton.
Clacton, and I thought, oh God, there's so many pubs. Which one am I going to go into? I was already running behind a little bit, so I didn't have all day. And I went off of one guy's comment on TikTok on one of my previous videos that said, when you get to Clacton, go to the Queen's Arms. And I thought, I swear that guy, I looked it up, I was like, oh, it's on the other side of town. That's actually a bit of a mission, but okay, I'll go there. And it was a proper boozer. I mean, it was like record scratch when I walked in.
Love it.
Everybody clearly knew each other, so looked at me like, who's this guy,
Who's this guy with a
his
stick?
bag and his stick? Someone's dog was going, woo! And I was like, oh my God, I'm just going to get my pint and sit down. And I was only going to spend half an hour in there. I spent nearly 3 hours in there because just talking to all of those people, it was like proper boozer stories.
Yeah. And they were very welcoming, weren't they?
So welcoming.
Yes.
Shout out the Queen's Arms in Clacton and all of his patrons because
Amazing.
they were so lovely. So many people told me stories. And in one particular, there was a guy called Russ who, his family has lived in Clacton as long as Clacton's been a town.
Oh my
so his
God,
great-grandfather
so he's
moved there when the town got built in the 1870s.
Wow.
So he's proper
Brilliant.
Clacton through and through. He makes walking sticks as well.
Nice.
Oh,
Oh, does he do, I mean, your stick, have you got a pedometer on it or a clickometer or something? How far have you been with your stick?
I had that stick for like 7 years.
Yeah.
So
Has it got a name?
I had on the first leg of the walk, I had Rafiki.
love it. Yeah.
But he had got I decided not to take him on the second leg because he got worn down so much that he's a bit too small.
Oh, poor Rafiki.
Oh no.
Well, I
Can you
thought
get a new
actually-
shoe?
It started kind of like, I don't know, just below my shoulder, because if you're listening to this, but by the time he was done, he's almost down like near my hip. He's like almost like
Wow.
a pimp cane, which
Yeah.
is stylish, but not so good for long distance walking. But now I just retired him because maybe one day I'll have a little young adventurer who takes their first stick out at one point. So anyway,
I think you should end up with a portfolio. It'd be like the Game of Thrones Iron Throne, but with walking sticks around it.
I have a portfolio.
Hello, this is Future Nick. I'm editing the podcast, and we've had audio problems. One of the mics cut out, so you might have noticed it was going a bit janky. I've tried to keep in as much of the chat after this as I can because it was a really good chat. But, sorry, bear with it. The sound quality is a bit weird. Like me.
Something I discovered in Chelmsford 2 weeks ago,
Oh.
which is just like, this is the perfect thing. So I went on a bit of a flaneur. Do you know what flaneur is?
No.
It's an aimless walk in the city, right? So I had a brilliant podcast on. I was just listening to this podcast. And I was like, I just got to keep walking because I want to find out what's going to happen in this podcast.
Yeah.
And I came down here because we're at Essex Records office and we've got a brand new bridge here. So I was thinking I want to walk across the bridge. And then I came down here and I sat on this bench over here. And I was like, oh, there's a button on the bench. And I pressed the button and I've got to say, I was just filled with so much joy.
Oh wow. Okay.
You are going to come over here and press this button.
Oh wow.
And you'll see, you'll experience the same joy that I did. Like, I think I might have pressed this about 5 or 6 times, and every time I was just absolutely loving it. So look, here we go.
If you sit on a bench and you're like, benches don't usually have buttons, there's a 100% chance you're pressing the button.
You've got to
You're
press
gonna
this
do
button.
it. No, that's right. Yeah.
For all you know, but you have to press
But
it.
it
But look,
doesn't
it's got
say
solar
don't
panels as well,
press.
so this is always powered up and ready to go.
All right, okay.
Here we go. You
I'm
ready?
pressing the button on the bench now.
Essex Sound Archive has been launched today as a unique chronicle of Essex life and history in speech and sound.
Well, now, listeners, what we have here, we've got the Essex Records offices, the what was it, the Essex Sound and Video Archive. Now, when you press this, I've got to say, it's probably the most in real life Alan Partridge thing that I've ever encountered, because it is pure Partridge. I think it's only about 10 years old, but it feels of another era, the way it's produced and stuff like that. But I love it that it's here. People can listen to this story in this place. So you've been around Chelmsford doing this thing for Essex Podcast Festival, where you're recording these mini sort of podcast video episodes, and they're situational. You can play them where you recorded them.
That's it. So there's going to be a story trail around Chelmsford City Centre. There's going to be 14 stops. Each is going to have its own QR code. So when people get to like an old building, they can scan the code. I'm going to pop up and like a little video, give 60 to 90 seconds about the history of what happened there. And then
Amazing.
It would be about an hour's walk if you did it all together.
So I can actually listen to it on my phone, and I'll be watching the video and oh, there's the thing you're talking about.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, you'll just scan the side of the building, and then I'll be there, and I'll point out different things in the building.
Not literally. It's not like you're going to pop up like a genie.
That'd be cool. But yeah, maybe in 2036.
Yeah, we'll get augmented reality you coming out, a hard light hologram.
I think everyone should be very worried if I started to do that. Nobody needs that. I'm best on the screen.
So what places have you been to today? Like, you say you got 14 sites.
Yeah.
No spoilers for all of them, but what are some of the best ones?
So I started at Shire Hall, and I kind of went
that's a
like,
good one.
I didn't go that far. I kind of went from there, kind of like up to the station, then down through the market, down to Moulsham Street, and then back up. So you don't walk very far, but I mean, I'm just scratching the surface of the best stories.
Give us a story. Give us a story. What have we got?
I found out that near the station lived a lady called Anne Knight, who was like one of the first ladies for women's suffrage and the women's right to vote, way before like Emmeline Pankhurst.
Yeah.
She was a Chelmsford girl, Essex girl as well, doing us all proud.
Anne Knight.
Yeah.
I've got to find out more about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I know there's an Anne Knight building, but I didn't know the story of Anne Knight.
Yeah, exactly. So she's one of the most important women, really, for women's suffrage and the reason everyone's got the right to vote, from an Essex girl who right here in Chelmsford.
One day they'll have a Sangita building, I think.
Is that right?
We're good with Anne
What will they put on that
Knight
plaque? Cool.
And where else have you been?
And then I went to Moulsham Street, where I found out that actually that's where, before Chelmsford City was there, that's where the Roman town grew up around. So actually I didn't realise that Moulsham and Chelmsford City Centre have almost had this like rivalry on either side of the River Cam.
What's it called? Camulo Magnus or something? No, what was it called?
Caesar Omegus.
Caesar Omegus.
Caesar Omegus.
Yeah. Caesar Omegus.
So
It's
that's
so cool.
Caesar's marketplace. It was the only town in Roman Britain that actually had the word Caesar in it.
Amazing. Yeah, well, I'm a Colchester boy, right?
Yeah.
So, like Colchester, we're capital, Roman.
We got
capital.
all the Roman stuff.
Yeah.
If it's
But
Roman in Essex, go
What
to
were they doing in
Colchester.
Chelmsford? This is just like their service station. They're stopping off on the way to London, was it?
Well, yeah.
Like this like a Greg's for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Caesar Amagus was the Roman Gregs.
Roman Gregs.
There you go. That's a
Just stop
story.
off there,
That's a
get a
story.
sausage roll, back on the chariot.
But Moulsham Street was the Roman road. So obviously Camulodunum, Colchester was really big, but anyone wanting to go between London and Colchester had to go along Moulsham Street. That's why there's so many pubs and taverns around there. And even the first A12 went over the stone bridge over Moulsham Street.
Yeah.
That's how long that street has been one of the most important thoroughfares in all of Essex.
Wow.
I
And I had
heard-
no idea.
Recently, I found out some history about that stone bridge that the army were put along it during the Black Plague,
Right.
because people on the old Moulsham side had the Black Plague and they didn't want them to come into the town. So they actually they deployed a line of soldiers to stop anyone crossing the bridge.
Wow. Just one little nugget like that, and it just
it's crazy.
It's like it tells 1,000 words, isn't it?
That stone bridge is amazing, but suddenly you realise all this mad stuff that happened with it. You could do a whole thing about just that stone bridge now.
You could do a whole thing about that stone bridge. You could, God, you could. I mean, well, people do. There are many excellent Chelmsford historians who spend a lifetime just talking about the stuff in Chelmsford, and even then, there's still more that they couldn't get the teeth into. There's so much here.
Incredible. I can't wait to go around. I'm going to go around and do this the podcast trail.
Yeah.
I mean, me and Sangha are doing our podcast festival as well. We've got Stephen and Mac on.
Yes,
Big up.
we have.
Essex
Big up.
legends.
All right.
Two Essex legends now, because we've got Man About Country as well.
Yes.
Oh wow, we made him blush. Yeah.
Hello, it's future Nick checking in again. I'm just editing. We had such an amazing chat for the rest of our walk. We talked about turning your hobby into a career, how persistence paid off, how James learnt about content capture, content creation, all about social media, how he built his following. We looked at the amazing Scipio fake sign in town for when pigeons are allowed on the street, bank holidays only, and loads of really other interesting stuff about how much Sangeeta hadn't really explored her city and how this has encouraged her to get out more. Oh, it's so good. But anyway, it was pretty much unlistenable because of the microphone problems, pretty much like most of our podcasts. Hey. All right, so we're just going to wrap up and make sure you follow Man About Country. You can actually watch his film on YouTube. It's 80 minutes of absolute gold. Him walking around Essex, meeting loads of interesting people, collecting stories. And don't forget about his mini podcast trail he's doing for the Essex Podcast Festival. And we're there too, interviewing Stephen and Mac. But that's sold out. You can't get tickets. Whoa, bye.
So Sangeeta, you're going to come out on more walks now. You're
Do you
inspired.
know what? I am definitely inspired, and I'd
Yes.
definitely love to do this again. And next time, maybe learn about that history as we go along. Like you showed us some phenomenal spaces today that I didn't think, and this is Nick, by the way, but I didn't think existed here. The boat bit and just those little alleyways and learning some of that history, those buttons. I think this has been a really good one.
You know what's interesting though, like because so many cities have been homogenised,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But then they've got all this underlying history, like the
Yeah.
Caesar Magus and Islands of Mesopotamia
Yeah.
that gets hidden underneath all the Greggs and all the Tesco's and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's still there, like the stories are there to be told.
Yeah.
Literally, like you said, it's just scratching beneath the surface.
It's just
Yeah.
scratching. Like for people to understand that this is an island and why it was called an island and the separation bit and all, like everything you said, you literally told us that in 5 minutes, but that was so interesting. It's just imprinted in my brain right now.
You've got that for life, apart from the name.
Apart from the name. No, I've got it there. I definitely want to Google that.
I'm going to quiz you next week. Caesar Magus and Island of Mesopotamia.
I think I might have to pull a sickie next week.
But so,
Amazing.
James, people can follow you on @ManAboutCountry.
Yeah, that's right. On Instagram, it's got little underscores in it. If you type Man About Country, it will come up. On Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And then, I got a website as well.
Amazing.
and on YouTube, that's where you can find the film.
And you've got to look out for Essex Podcast Festival because we've got 14 mini Man About Country podcasts.
That's right.
Around Chelmsford and the trail. So this is on half term as well. So
right.
people with kids can go around and look at them as well.
Absolutely.
Because podcasts, I mean, like I said, I discovered the Essex Records office bench listening to a podcast walking around. Podcasts are the best when you're walking or in your car, but mostly when you're walking.
And actually, I'm going to give myself this challenge over the half term. I'm going to go and find those 14 ones with my little grandbabies or my NGDA kids. I'm going to
Yes,
find
you've got to
these,
do it.
and I'm going to record them every time we find them. Say, yep, there we go. We found one. But I'm going to go looking. I'm going to give myself that
Yes,
challenge.
that's what
for
it's
the
all
half-term
about.
week, for real.
Nice one. So everyone get out
Thank
and do
you.
that.